Yep, not enough light as always. So pop out the chat. So I have a chance to see what everyone's saying. Encoding overload. What? Oh jeez. Let's turn off everything. Must have been a momentary brain fart by it. Alrighty, looks like people are turning up. I need to increase the font size because I seem to be half blind. So yeah, 125%, that'll do. Joshua, Defpom, Greg, Aaron, Tinkerman, Mick, and Teresa. Alright, let's get this keyboard out of the way. And right, so we got a 6S, I've got another one, and this one's really well and truly smashed. Let's go for the overhead. A 3X and Baron Black. Maybe I should move this camera over a bit more. It seems like a nice angle initially where it was, but then what you find is that man, this is so awkward doing it backwards. What you find is that when I start opening up these things, you can't see anything because it's on my right hand side and I use my right hand like that. Let's see if we zoom in, maybe give you a better look. There you go. Alright, Hugo and Zeta, Argentina, ITM2. So Eduardo has a question. What would be the cause of home button not to work on iPhone 6S? Mind you, it was replaced and I know Touch ID. Yeah, probably a lot of things that could do that. Maybe just a bad flex on the screen itself, taking the data back up to the connector on the PCB. I'm not really an expert on iPhone faults. I mean, I'll fix the screens and I'll do some electronics repairs, but not really overly an expert. My glasses on because I don't feel like having glass in my eyes. Lacking my mojo right now, I feel. Yeah, some days you just feel like you can't quite put your life together. Oh wait, that's every day, yeah. Since it's a replacement home button, what's the chance the home button's also dead? Alright. Can't remember what screwdriver I'm going for. Right, this is one I did the other week. The person smashed it again. Smashed it real good. What's frustrating is I run out of enough black screens. I wasn't keeping my eye on the order process for my screens and things like that. Too busy putting cat fences up. And then, what do you know? 2 black iPhone 6 installs required. And the one I had as a emergency spare ended up being a dud. So I couldn't use that. Couldn't give it to the customer. It's YouTube's really having issues with my streams. By the way, how's the audio sync? Crikey, the chat's gone faster than I expect. Greg M was just finished watching Lewis rant about the T2. Ah, right. Yeah, T2 is going to be a bit of a problem. Hey, Lee Coleman. Jacob Anderson. Hey, Ben. Get lost, Ben. Go away, Ben. Just kidding, Ben. You know we like you, Ben. So, the inventory clerk. I agree. Hey, Bob. Rob, not Bob. Tinkerman Mick, good. Glad to hear the audio's fine. It really is a gamble every time you start up a stream. You just don't know how the system's going to be. Maybe there's some latent processes that are going on that have popped up since you last ran. So many things can change. But I am glad that I've finally got the USB enumeration process working with the video for Linux assignment of the device names, because that was always a problem. You'd start up your stream and all your videos are, all your inputs are mixed up again. Man, so much glass. Just get these screws out. A lot easier than those tri-wing screws. I haven't been having much luck with MacBooks lately. I just had to no-fix another one today. It was a 820 3332, which should have been just a standard U8900 reflow, but unfortunately it turns out it wasn't. And in spite of everything I could try, cleaning up various bits of corrosion and whatnot, it would still give me inconsistent results on the ASD tests. At one time it was complaining that the MJPEG encoding CPU thing failed, and then another time it's saying it couldn't come back from sleep properly. You know, it's just all over the place, so I just, yeah, that's it. That's going to be one of those rabbit holes that actually just end up killing you. So, second time now, my Mac Pro display goes white with lots of coloured lines, but you can sort of see the mouse moving. It fixes itself after a forced restart. Doesn't sound very good. Maybe memory issues? "2 PM, finishing my day at work." That's right, you're in New Zealand, aren't you? Blaster Master, Chris Iverson. I thought it was Master Blaster. I wonder how long before people completely forget about that Mad Max movie with Tina Turner. Alright, this one, yes, it's a white. So fortunately, when you're doing iPhone screen replacements, if you do happen to run out of stock, then this is the preferred run out option, because black home button on a white display is far better looking than the other way around. It gives it a nice sort of a, well, I call it the Oreo cookie style. But if you run out of whites, and so you have a white home button on a black screen, it just looks out of place. Hey Chanaka. I'm going blind here. Yeah, anger management issues sometimes. Sometimes people just have bad run of luck. And I try to help them out. I sort of give them frequent smasher discounts. But it can become a little bit problematic when they start to look at you as you're the cause. Or maybe you've been supplying shonky displays and that's why they just break when you drop them on the floor again. Oh, come on, for goodness sake. Is Australian customs as much into seizing stuff like the US? What? 2 PM in Melbourne? Oh, crikey, it is 2 o'clock, sorry. My goodness, the day has gotten away from me. For some reason I was thinking it was midday. Oh well. Wow. Paul's brain's not really with it today, it seems. Which is a good thing that I'm just doing iPhone screen repairs rather than something that's actually more complicated. Make up a punch card for the screen replacement. Yeah, that's a good idea. It looks like your coffee club type card thing. I think the worst I ever had was a person that smashed it as I handed it to them. That was really a difficult one. I sort of handed them the phone, they grabbed the phone, and then they went and dropped it. And they looked at me as if to go, that was my last $10 that I spent on my lotto ticket. Now what will I feed my children? We did work out a compromise with that. So to alleviate that situation, from then on, I either left phones on the desk and people picked them up themselves from the desk, or I put them in containers, or I leave them in the bubble wrap. You still get people doing shonky stuff. Like, if I ever see people put the phones into their back pocket after they've got it off me, it's like, oh, that's not going to go well. It seems every single time I see someone do that, I just want to race over to them, push them down, take that phone out of their back pocket, because you know as soon as they get in the car, they're going to forget that it's in their back pocket, sit down, and it's going to go and they won't say anything. They'll wait for a week or so, and then they'll say, my screen is just spontaneously cracked. It was on the nightstand. I have a work colleague whose daughter keeps breaking her phone. I have fixed it about 4 times in the past year. She doesn't take care of anything. I had the same with her computer too. Some people are just like that. Some people are just careless. Some are just, unfortunately, klutzy. But either way, it still ends up you having to repair their phone multiple times, and they certainly do develop a degree of animosity towards you. And that's the other thing, yeah, if someone else is paying for those repairs, they really don't learn. I get that a fair bit with school kids. Usually after about the second or third time, I get a message from the parents saying that their child is going to pay for it now. And that's often the last time I get that phone in again. Either because they work out how to replace it themselves, or they found someone really cheap to do it, because I am not cheap to do phone repairs, screen repairs. I know, like for those who know my region, the relatively large city that's down the road, 130 k's away, they can't be making much more than maybe $10 or $15 per screen job on most of them, based on their pricing and based on what I know I can get screens for. And even if they are getting them direct out of China in lots of 100, they're still not making more than about $25 a job. And I just will not do them for that cheap. Alright, so there we go. This is the Oreo configuration. Oops, almost forgot to put my mark on it. Yeah, I don't know what Apple's doing with that whole let's lock everything down situation. I guess the only thing I can think of that they're trying to do is to push everyone to consider the device as a disposable unit, which plays in very nicely for them, and to force everybody to essentially have a perpetual cloud backup system. And that facilitates the end game of selling more machines more frequently. because once you detach from the fact that your data is on that machine, then as soon as it becomes ugly, dented, broken, then you'll go out and you'll just get a nice new shiny replacement one. Even if it could have lasted another 15 years, okay, that's a bit of a joke, a couple of years, or could have been repaired. People are just sort of going to go, what's the point? I'll just go get a new shiny machine, latest version, put in my login details, download everything from the cloud, and I'll be back up and running. So that's my take on why Apple's doing the whole Star Wars compactor closing in walls thing on us. Oh, there you go. ITM2's just saying that. Yep. I hate it when the magnet is so sufficiently strong that it picks up everything. Come on. There you go. Well, I agree they are supposed to be cheap, but I guess, yeah, Apple's just still going that route. And Apple's never had a problem with the whole we're expensive type mindset. I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, the phones are $1,000, over $1,500 now, and they're still selling them, so it's, yeah. Man, there is a nasty bend in there too. You can see that curvature just on the underside here, and particularly in this corner. I never try to get that flattened out. It's a fool's errand in my opinion. You always end up causing more damage than what was there originally. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. But yeah, the Oreo color configuration is pretty acceptable by most people. I'll just put that aside. Yeah, we can work on the next one, which is probably going to be a disabled phone at the end of this. See, the FTC is investigating Amazon deal with Apple, which pushed Apple refurbishers out. Oh, right, yeah. I'm kind of curious to see what happens too with Google adverts and repair industry, because they basically locked us out prior to having a suitable verification process ready to go after they locked us out. Like, what they should have done is created the verification process, gave people a chance to partake in it and become verified, and then done the whole wipeout, unlocking, locking up process. But the way they've done it now, that I'm fairly sure that's going to come and bite them in the butt. I mean, I'm not a great hater of Google. I think they've done a tremendous amount of things for us, but that was definitely a really poor move on their part, and I do believe there's probably going to be class action against them on that. I mean, class action is effectively useless for us, but it's, yeah, something's going to have a bit of a backlash there. What is going on with you? This was obviously an original screen. Yep. I agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind paying for quality either, and I agree that they are milking it. I mean, they're basically just pushing the prices up relative to the drop-off of sales per year to maintain a consistent growth rate of income on their charts, or profit, whatever. I mean, it must be working. I mean, they got their $1 trillion markup and everything. This phone's been twisted to death. That's not going to be any fun at all to try and fix. If I had a spare chassis, I'd actually probably just drop it in. But I don't have one for this Success in grey. Yeah, probably could use a battery. It's had some sort of crush impact there, obviously from the twist. We'll see how it goes. I'll warn them about it and just say, expect your battery to not last very long anymore. Warn, tell them. What's going on there? So I feel like you should be able to restore iPads without iTunes, especially iPad OS 13 coming out as a... what you mean the iPad itself should be able to use its own internal hardware to connect up to the internet, and kind of like a MacBook already can when you start in recovery mode. Is that what you're referring to? I mean, it's no surprise people are backing off on the... I mean, $1,000 is ridiculous. I think... I just flicked that screw somewhere. Thankfully there's plenty of magnetic things around and it just caught onto something else. I think they really probably should have come out with a $7.99 type phone, $7.99 Australian, so that be $5.99 US. Something in that ballpark, but not something as cheesy as the 5C. Don't get me wrong, I like the 5C, but it was a little bit of a obscure move. I did not expect that from Apple. Someone probably got fired. Christensen, yeah, if they get to that point, it's not like they're going to be hurting for money. I mean, they could burn through their cash for a couple of decades and still be a powerful company. I mean, the shareholders might revolt a bit, but I don't think the shareholders are willing to toss Apple out too quick anymore. At least not for another 5 years. And certainly not in enough numbers anyway. But then again, I don't know much about corporate stuff, so best to just assume that I'm talking absolute bollocks. Alright, you can go completely into the bin. So Galaxy Fold is supposed to be released again in September. That'll be a laugh. 2000, yeah, that's going to be ridiculous. I cannot see, from a materials technology perspective, I cannot see how they can do it. I think they're going to drastically underestimate how many times people are going to flex it and under what the conditions. So I mean, in the lab, sure, maybe it'll last 10,000 cycles, but I think when you put real life elements into it, it's probably going to be more like 100 cycles before we're going to see issues coming up. I mean, short of making the bent portion impossibly thin, as in, well, infinitely thin, you're always going to have fatigue issues. Man, someone's fingerprints are all over this. I hate that. I'm not going to try and wash it off, but Annoys me when that happens. So you get these things out of the factory. For goodness sake, people, use gloves. They'll save you from all the chemical issues. But then again, I suppose those poor people, they don't get a choice. They're probably just told, refurbish these screens, you get 10 cents a day for it, and you don't get any gloves. And so you're effectively sacrificing the people. And then of course I have the audacity to complain about fingerprints on these things. Yep, I made myself feel bad now. Hey, age-wise one. I do agree with you. The iPhone 5 profile was definitely a good profile. Unfortunately, I think with the demand for larger screens due to the content being consumed now, they have become a bit more of a phone-only type. Well, priority first is phone. Then if you really need to do messaging or something like that, then sure, it can still do that. Which works well for a lot of the people I deal with around here. People who essentially do just still want voice calls and then maybe a bit of messaging on the side. Me, on the other hand, I run away from voice calls. I can't handle voice calls. A lot of that's also because I just can't hear properly on a voice call. It's not the volume, and this is the thing with having a hearing impairment, is that a lot of the time it is not the volume that is the problem. You can hear the noise. It's something in the head as well, that you can't process the data that's coming in properly. And so all you hear is and you go, and you have no idea what's going on, and you agree to things that you shouldn't agree to, and you get yourself into legal trouble. And after you've done that a couple of times, you say, stuff it, I'm not taking any more voice calls. Everything can be on email, where it's written and confirmed, and there's no ambiguities other than just the normal inherent ambiguities in human communications. Strangely enough, a lot of businesses, corporates, things like that, do not like doing stuff on email precisely because of that reason. Because it's on record then, and, well, they can't escape that. They could probably claim, rogue staff member or something like that, but by and large, it's too much of a legal trap for them. I need a camera guide for the 6S here. What's this one? No, that's a 5. Auditory sensory processing disorder. Not really sure if it has a name or something. I mean, I do also have a significant loss of hearing capability across the spectrum. Like, my low frequency response is pretty awful. And I suppose that lends itself to, over time, you don't have the mental capacity to handle things well enough. Throughout school I listened a lot, but by God, the headaches I would have at the end of the day because of just having to listen so hard. I'd be up the front of the class, I'd have my hearing aids, all that sort of stuff, doing everything I could to give myself a good chance. And what happens? I become a MacBook repairer. Yeah. Just goes to show, even if you do well at school, you can be doomed in life. Did you see the test video about Adam's hearing aid, which works as a Bluetooth phone headset and you can shift the tone? I haven't seen that one, but I do know about those sort of things existing. It's a case of I guess I'm being lazy, in all honesty. It's like, yeah, there's stuff out there that could probably help me now, but I'd rather just squawk and complain and force people to do things the way that I prefer now. Because, that's the right way to do things in this modern day society. Squawk and complain and make other people do things for you. This phone's taken a little longer than I usually expect. Jacob, sometimes I feel like it though. It's like, here I am, I'm getting close to 50, and I still can't even get a home loan yet. I'm working on that, I'm working on it. It's just, the years tick by very quickly. You sort of get out of your 20s, you're shell-shocked through your 30s because you finished your 20s, and it was a lot quicker than you expected, and you didn't become the millionaire you thought you would be in your 20s. And so then you get your mental illness in late 30s, and then in your 40s you sort of have a renaissance of life, and you sort of go, oh, things aren't so bad, I'm early 40s, I'm still good. And then before you know it, you're in your late 40s, and you're going, maybe things are actually a little worse. And then of course you deal with all your fun and games of the random medical issues that come up as a consequence of the various options you chose in your youth. Like, I think I'll stay out in the sun, or I think I won't exercise enough, or whatever happens. And sometimes it's just downright bad luck, in all honesty. And then your 50s come along and you go, wait, I'm still running around in old second-hand cars, I don't have a home, I'm not financially secure. And then you think, I've only got about 20 years of, well, realistically, probably about 15 years of useful working life before I just become a sympathy case. And yeah, the panic sets in. Obviously that was obviously overly dramatic, but it depends on the time of day that you start thinking things like that. Alright, let's have a look. Yeah, Christmas and I agree on you about the fold thing being a bit of a craze, like the 3D TV stuff. I don't know how many times I've tried that now, the 3D TVs. Certainly at least 3 major times that I can think of. And it's always been the same, just patters out. Oh, you're in your 40s, welcome. Yeah, because I know there's going to be people in their actual 50s who are going to be laughing at me right now and going, you don't know nothing until you get into your 50s. And then there'll be people in their 60s saying, you don't know nothing, and ad infinitum. And then you get people in their graves going, you ain't know nothing, buddy. I'm here for your brains, I'm going to eat you because I'm a zombie. Yeah. Now, I didn't even bother taking the bend out of that. It's a twist and a bend. I'll be a fool to try and get that out. That's okay, Teresa. That's what I'm here for, making everybody life miserable. I'm good for that. Hey, Michael from Norway. Must be quite early there for you guys. It's yep. Hey. What? Home button, no work. Did I leave something off the home button? It just pushes straight through. It's like there's nothing even there. That's a pain. Yep, Rob, you're what I'm looking for, what I've got to look forward to. I mean, I barely even feel like an adult. Honestly, inside I just feel like I'm still 22. Which is probably not a good thing. Are there actually any real adults in this world? Or are we all just aged children telling each other that we should be adults? Okay. Time to bring out the Vaseline. Find out what's going on with this home button. It's almost like the... Yeah, that's what's happened. Damn it. There's a little metal disc. Oops. There's a little metal disc that sits up here, and it's been broken off, so I have to find another one. Where on earth am I going to find one of those? Hey, Tom George, there. So someone knocked the ante. There's always someone who's older, but not always someone who's older and speaking. Yeah, the whole pick up the bending over stuff, it's already making me groan. And then I find myself shuffling through the house at times. I don't want to bump into things. Wait, is this it? Yep, this is good. So we'll throw this one away. We used one of our own, so that this person may have a working phone. Okay. Good thing we tested that. Naughty 40s. So I'm kind of curious, how many people out there heard about the whole Flexboard view security fiasco? I'm suspecting pretty much nobody. At this point, I'm supposedly not meant to be making any more money whatsoever out of Flexport View. Someone is doing their very best to make sure I never get another cent for it, and they're going to show everyone how to use it for free to hack it, because they're trying to help me. They're trying to help me. It's really quite amusing. The phone is not supposed to go there. Why have I locked this in without checking to see whether that home button works? Okay, it clicks now. Let's see. Someone's asked for the phones. Almost done. Oh, there you go. Looks like the person's failed in their attempts to ruin me then. Okay, that's good. That one's fine. Great. Disabled phone. It's funny, I thought that one was going to be the disabled one, but it's this one. Well, that works too. And looks like the people are coming around to collect them pretty much just now. Looks like I better write up the invoice for that. Well, anyway, with the whole Flexport View thing, if you do happen to hear about it, essentially what happened is that someone was trying to at least... Okay, this is... If you're a hacker, a black hat, or someone like that prefers to sit on that side of the line, ignore everything I'm about to say. If you're a script kiddie, ignore everything I'm about to say. But basically, someone, as far as I can tell, was trying to use my software without paying for a license. So they bought themselves, oh, they didn't buy themselves, they got themselves a copy of some NSA recently released intrusion testing inspection type software. Nothing special about that. It's been widely publicized that NSA has released that. It's all available. It's not in itself a unique concept. It's just a NSA packaging of it. And they've used that, and they've decided that they've found a problem in Flexport View, a security problem. And the trouble is they posted it on a MacBook forum discussion page, just saying basically Flexport View has a security problem. Now the first thing that got me there was that when people post stuff like that, the first thing you think is it's a security problem from the user perspective, as in the user's data is at risk by you running that program. Maybe it's trying to send it off to China, or that was being prejudiced, but whatever. That sort of thing. But after a bit of digging around, it turns out that no, that's not actually the case. It was them, they were thinking there was a security problem for me in the sense that it could be bypassed, the license. So I said to him, look, just take down that post, talk to me about what's going on, give me your detail, rundown on it, so I can give a proper response. Give me a chance to produce a proper response. And they said, no, we don't want to take it down, just blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you're damaging my name and the community perception of my software by leaving this post up here with no context and misworded representation of what you feel you've found. Anyway, needless to say, it got taken down by the admins, thankfully. And, that person did not like that. And it just sort of went all out of hand from there. So now they've decided it's their personal plight that they are to ensure that I never get another cent for that software, and they're going to tell everyone how to crack it. But the funny thing is, what they feel or they've said is the crack is that the license file is plain text and it's editable, and they know where it is. And it's like, I said, it's actually listed up the top when you type in your license information where that license file is, so that if there are any problems, I can be given a copy of it, or I can give the client a copy of a working license file. There's nothing unusual about that. And if the person really actually does want to go and tell everyone how to get a free copy, all they have to do is actually spend $79 and buy a copy, and then if they use their brains instead of apparently being high all the time, they would understand that they actually have right now the ability to share it everywhere, and I can't do a thing, at least until the next version when everything gets blacklisted again. But it's just, when people misrepresent things like that, they've got to anticipate that they're going to have a hammer thrown at them by the developers, because if you want to be a cracker hacker, and if say you want to have some level of respect and mutual understanding and helping each other, then you have to follow a certain procedure. If you go outside of those procedures that dramatically, you are going to basically find yourself in a bad situation. Anyway, so it's rather amusing right now. I'm not losing any real sleep over it, but it's just more like, what the hell happened there? Script kiddies, yes, very much like script kiddies. And the stupid thing is, Flexport View isn't even annually licensed. Like, you pay your $79 once, and you use that version for as long as you like. It's like if you've still got a copy of Office 2003 or something like that, you keep using it. And I do that because I like that kind of software. I like knowing that I have perpetual ownership of what I have purchased from the developer. The whole license system, I understand it from a capitalist point of view. I think it's a brilliant way of getting lots and lots of money constantly. But I'm trying to produce something for the repair community that helps the repair community. And when you get these people doing this sort of thing, you just kind of think, why are you doing this? Why are you ruining it for everybody? That sort of action is precisely what would drive people like me into going onto a subscription-based model or more security layers, because it's like, well, if you're going to screw me over, then where's the mutual understanding? I mean, as it is, Flexport View doesn't use the internet. It doesn't need installing. It doesn't use root or admin account. So you can sandbox the hell out of it, and it's safe. I mean, does it have bugs? Absolutely. Can it be hacked? Absolutely. It's like a normal household door with a lock. If you want to get into the house, you can either pick the lock or you can kick it down, but at least it's there to stop the honest thieves, as it were. Michael, thank you very much for that knock. I should know what NOK is. I've forgotten. And Mr. BBI, thank you very much for your 20. I appreciate that. Thank you. The guy was a total bag of flaming dick. That's a hell of a term. I mean, there's no denying, we all have at some point probably used cracked software to test it, or just because we couldn't afford it or something like that. And if people at home or something use a cracked copy of Flexport View, I'm not going to cry over that. It's like, okay, you're just a home user, you're just using it. Because the thing is, you're using my software then. And so when you do get to the point where you can afford it, or you go into a commercial situation, you're going to bring your experience and your option of software with you, which means then I get more Flexport View sales. This is taking me forever to write this invoice. Fault, cracked screen, service, screens replaced, notes. Both chassis have bends in them. Screen will not sit perfect. Flat, strongly recommend keeping in protective case. $260 million. Okay, generate. Now this better blooming well print to my printer. No, damn it! I have to print from the other machine. Oh well, doesn't matter. Script kiddie should be forced to use Landrex. Ooh, that's some serious threat there. Someone who never worked in his life in his own home business. Really? Okay. I don't know much about the guy. I've seen him around, and I just sort of kept a fairly clear, wide berth in general, but this one really went in my face. I don't think the whole thing turned out like he thought it would. That's quite possible, yes. He made a lot of people mad, and he was messing with you. So that's the other thing, is if you have a good standing with the community and someone does something like that, then it generally, the person doing the bad thing doesn't really win so well. Still happy to have been one of your first purchases. Well, when we do bring out, I don't know why I say we, it's a habit from a long time ago. When the new versions come out, then there will be upgrade price cycles for anyone who's interested. I think more people were pissed at him than who he had hoped would be pissed at Paul. And that's the other thing, is like there was nothing really to be ticked off at me about, because it wasn't a security issue for them, it was a security issue for me. And as it is, I don't think it has actually got a hack as such. Like, to me, a hack would be posting a binary patch, or even just posting up somewhere to download the hacked version. But instead he was just saying, go get this software and it'll tell you how to analyze that file, and then you can reverse engineer it or whatever. That's no good to people. Most people just want to download something and run it. Should blacklist his name in your software? Yeah, that's already, certainly the name is. 260 million, that was for your invaluable advice. How much for the repair? I do keep some pretty good margins on things like iPhone screen repairs. Part of that is because I have the captive market here, and the other part is I don't break their phones, and if I do break their phones, then I'll replace what I broke, as opposed to sort of handing it to them and saying, you broke it, or waiting until they've walked out the door and then they come back and go, hey, this doesn't work, and you go, well, it was working fine here, must be your fault. I get a lot of phones that come in that have been repaired in the big town, and they have issues, and so I've generally fixed those up while they're here. Nobody messes with the patron saint of stray kitties. Thank you. Yes. For a one-time price license, no big deal. A continual payment system means you're beholden to the supplier of the license. Yeah, I mean, I definitely much prefer the one-time license. I know a lot of people have said to me, why don't I do Patreon and things like that, because I know Phoneboard does Patreon. And it came to me the other day while I was driving for 5 hours that the reason why I don't like Patreon as opposed to, say, PayPal contributions is because with Patreon, people are paying for what they're anticipating to get in the future from you. Whereas when you pay a contribution through PayPal or you buy a license, you are paying for what already has been done. So with a Patreon, as a receiver of the Patreon money, I am then obligated to meet your expectations of what I'm supposed to provide forthcoming. Whereas if you buy my software or you send a PayPal contribution, you are paying me for the work that I have already done. So if I go, something happens and I change my mind about what I'm doing tomorrow, then I don't feel like I'm obligated to fulfill your anticipated or your expectations of why you gave me that money. So that, to me, was the clarification as to why I won't do Patreon or things like that. But I'm fine with PayPal contributions and license purchases. So other people might feel differently, but for me, that's where it stands. I feel like Patreons can be very useful things, but I can't handle having that sort of weight on the back of people going, well, I paid you money, where's my reward for it? So yeah, and the cloud-based things, yeah, if something happens that gets decommissioned, then yeah, you've got a lost investment. Yeah, there are some things I would like to offer that are better. I'd like to be able to offer board views and schematics and all that, but I just can't legally. It's interesting that no one's created a site to package it all as a lump that I can then go to my license buyers when they say to me, where can I get schematics and board views? I would like to be able to say, you can go get them from there. That's their responsibility if they get taken down or whatever, but that's where you can get it from. I'm just supplying the application to work with them. I don't supply the data because it's not my data, it's third-party data. I have no right to distribute that intellectual property. So, alright. Okay, well, these customers are probably going to be on their way, so best I get closed up. Yep, I just see that's them there pulling up, so I got to go. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.